Readers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You're in Wenz World.
Oh yeah, another trip to Wenz World awaits. We have football, we have fun, we have... Wait a minute. You've heard all this before. Let's just get into it.
He'll be good. He's not going to be that great. So don't overreact on either side.
Man, what do you mean you took my advice? Are you kidding me? Oh, my God, that's not good.
All of those games could have easily gone the other way, so I think I know what I'm talking about over here, don't I?
Something from a star, something from a galaxy, something like that it seems like it's made by some sort of intelligence.
Men and women are more alike than different.
No, you know, it's called fanning the flames of Tinder.
Yep, fantasy football expert time. And you know, we bring in Andy and Tehol from NickelPress TV. Check out their channel on YouTube and connect on Twitter at People's Pen. And of course, instead of an S, you're going to find a Z between the P's. And at Lord Beddict, BEDDICT. Andy and Tehol, welcome back to Wenz World. How you guys doing?
What's up, sir? How are you? This is actually, is this Carson Wentz's world?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I'm hopping on the Wentz wagon here, man. What a great week he had. Jeez.
It was not expected.
Yeah, I held off. I took Tehol's advice and just kind of laid low on him, and will continue to do so as the weeks progress. I'm a fan of the team, but I got to separate them. I got to keep them separated. This Sunday, we saw a lot of things, and I want to kind of get into some of the surprises, good and bad, that the great Andy and Tehol saw on Sunday.
Go for it, Lord. I want to hear your...
Yes, you got to keep them separated. Great Offspring song, Bring It Back for me. What do you mean you took my advice? Are you kidding me? Oh, my God, that's not good. Sometimes, but usually it is. So some surprises from this last week. You know, Wentz was a surprise to me. Aguilar even scored a TD. Jordan Matthews, who Andy loves, had a great first week, so he's a guy that is looking like a possible steal early on here. The Seahawks offense being pretty weak was kind of a surprise. I kind of thought they were all going to go off. I ranked them all too high, except Baldwin did go off, so that was nice. Adrian Peterson and some of these running backs having horrible games, which, you know, when you have a quarterback, the defense is going to just fully focus on the run game. That's what happened. He'll be fine now going forward. And then Gurley, you gotta make something happen more there for him, and that's just gross. You don't want to be there if you're the Rams. You need him getting 100 yards every single game. You need to average over 100 yards a game, total yards for that guy. So that's a bummer.
Oh, well, just to touch on real quick some of the surprises.
Yeah.
But I was kind of surprised. Lamar Miller, obviously now in Houston, was finally utilized in a correct way. He had 28 carries, which led the NFL week one.
Finally got over 100 yards, finished on 106. But the nice thing as well was he also had 4 receptions. I don't think he can maintain the carry pace, but 4 receptions puts him on pace for 64 catches on the season, which I think is well within his wheelhouse. So that was nice to see. It was a little surprising to see the balance of the Saints wide receivers. They were, as a group, the trio targeted 24 times, 9 each going to Snead and Cooks, and 6 going to Michael Thomas, who hauled in all 6 of those catches. So I was just surprised to see that there was that much volume for 3 mouths to feed, if you will. But the biggest surprise for me from week 1 was Philip Dorsett with the Colts. He saw 73% of the Colts snaps, which was a lot more than I thought he would see. And that led to 6 targets, giving him 4 catches for 94 yards. I think that's kind of misleading. I don't think he can maintain that on a weekly level. Mm-hmm. So, it was nice to see for him and me being a Miami fan, but I think it was a little misleading, so I was a little surprised by that. But as far as the bus, and I'll just make it short and sweet because there's going to have to be a lot of explaining and backpedaling from this one. I've already harassed him on our weekly show Off the Record, but Tyrod Taylor somebody was in my ear telling me, make sure you start this guy. And he had 7.4 yards per reception, which is basically just brutally disgusting. So I'm going to sign off with my bust for the week at that.
Carolina last week, I started Cam Newton. I took Andy's advice there. I almost started Big Ben, and they were very comparable in my league. But this coming week, what are some blue chips that you guys are seeing? Maybe somebody that nobody's thinking about that's getting in your brain right now.
I kind of like Dak Shepard this week, maybe a little bit at Washington there. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I think Washington, we saw kind of their defense getting roasted by Roethlisberger. By the way, you're lucky Cam Newton got that gimme 1-yard TD run. Otherwise, his fantasy stats would have been real gross,
no kidding.
As I suggested they would be. Mm-hmm. And anyway, but as I was saying, what was I saying? Tyrod Taylor? Oh, God, yeah. And for other people that weren't watching that game, that was all based on Baltimore's defense and Buffalo's game plan and Sammy Watkins being hurt. There's nothing wrong with Tyrod Taylor. Let's be clear about that.
Real quick, not to interrupt you, but I'm going to. Now, do you like Tyrod still against that Jets defense?
No, not this week. The Jets front 7 is filthy. Watkins, we have to see if Watkins can be anything like the man he's supposed to be. He's a shell of himself. The rest of the Bills' weapons are garbage. He's not good to go. You can't really start Tyrod. He's going to have some games where he kind of is good because he's going to run for some yards, but the Jets defense kind of scares me on where he's going to get hurt, quite honestly.
How about you, Andy? Any blue chips on your mind?
There's a guy that kind of has been falling a little under the radar for me, and that's in right here in Atlanta, which is Jacob Tamme. He finished week 1 with 8 targets. I think that's something he definitely can maintain. If you go back and look at last season, he had 6 games of 6 or more targets, and then an additional 3 where he had 5. So this is not like blip on the radar to see this kind of output from him. If you added a touchdown to his line from Sunday, he would have been looking a lot better, and you would hear a lot more people talking about him. Tight end is a very, very up and down position. Yeah. A lot of people are going to be running on the Ebron and ASJ bandwagons this week because they both scored touchdowns. But Tamme is going to give you some consistency, and I like Atlanta to just continue chucking the ball around, which is why I like Matt Ryan to be one of the more productive quarterbacks this week. I guess I would say more by luck, more by volume than actual talent. But at the end of the day, the numbers should add up for fantasy purposes.
Let me drop something on you. Sterling Shepard this week, Giants second receiver, playing the Saints. We saw what happened. It's going to be a high-scoring game, probably no matter what. I kind of like Sterling Shepard. He snuck in the end zone last week. People have been comparing him to Randall Cobb. I kind of like what's going on here. I'd say he's going to get another score, and he has a shot to have a big day. I'm going to throw it out there. Sleeper, DFS, maybe a third or fourth receiver, standard leagues or whatever. But, yeah, I think he's going to have a big game.
Now, Andy, you mentioned the great Atlanta Falcons. Well, they're not great, but the city of Atlanta is. And the name that came to my mind was Mohamed Sanu. Are you buying in on this guy? Because, he's opposite Julio Jones, and so he's not probably going to draw that extra safety cover that Julio does.
Yeah, I'm a little lukewarm on Sanu. I liked him entering the season. He was, some dark horse for me to kind of put up the week he did just put up, but I think Julio's still the main guy there. I don't think Sanu is going to be doing this on a weekly basis. As I mentioned, I think Tamme steals a lot of targets, and I even like Justin Hardy to start showing his face once in a while on a weekly basis. So I'm not particularly running out to make sure I acquire Sanu. wherever I can.
Right.
He's was drafted as a late-round flyer by a lot of people anyway, and at this point of the week, he's probably gone virtually everywhere if you're looking for him on the waiver wire. So really it leaves us down to, is he somebody that I look to acquire in a trade or something, and I'd probably pass just because I don't know that he maintains that level of production.
Now, Tehol, last week you were a tad hesitant to pick up on Cam Newton against that Denver defense. You feel the same way with Luck heading into town?
Not as much, so just because I think they're going to slang it no matter what. Like, they're going to chuck it. They're going to find a way. I mean, he's not a guy I'm, like, actively saying, but I think Indy actually has a chance to win this game. I think they're going to chuck it. I think Dwayne Allen is going to find some room against some of these safeties in the middle or these linebackers. I think he's going to be a nice security blanket, maybe get some quick stuff going to Moncrief, Dorsett, Hilton, maybe make some stuff happen, because the run game, I don't think is going to be there. I think they're going to need to be chucking it. I think they're going to do so. You know, he's not a guy I'm actively, like, I don't have him ranked as a top 5 quarterback, but he's still in my top 10 quarterbacks, so I think there's still a chance there for a nice game.
Now, you mentioned Dwayne Allen. Are you buying in on Jack Doyle, either of you guys?
Doyle rule. No.
Doyle rule.
No, I'm not. The only reason he was in there is because Dwayne Allen got banged up or something, whatever. He came out of the game. Everybody's talking about O'Doyle, and it's like, you know, the guy's not even going to be on the field like that going forward. I mean, it's not as much. I mean, but again, when they have 2 tight ends, he'll be out there. But Allen is the primary guy. I don't think Doyle is ownable unless you're playing in like a 25-team league.
All right, so let's move to the opposite side of the ball in here and talk defense and special teams. Who you guys got this week? If you could choose any defense/special teams in all of the NFL, who would it be and why?
Got to be Seattle. And Tehol's a Seattle guy. They're opening the Rams' return to L.A., but the Rams, we saw, they're just brutal.
Ugh.
I mean, Gurley can't even get off the ground because the quarterback position is just such a mess right now. I gave Case Keenum entirely way too much credit. I thought he was adequate and possibly deserving of more talk than he was getting based on what he did in a couple, stints here and there in Houston. But, I've completely recognized that I was giving him way too much credit. So I would have to say Seattle just tears apart the Rams this week.
What say you, Tehol?
I'm going to flip the script a little bit here. Seattle is the safest option for sure, but Seattle always struggles with the Rams. It's always a weird game. Always something crazy happens. Russell Wilson's got the sprained ankle. It's pretty bad. I don't know if he's going to be able to be mobile. The only way the Rams are going to be able to win this game is get a couple of turnovers, maybe a pick six, maybe a fumble recovery to the house with the pass rush, blitzing his ass off. I'm going to say St. Louis has a nice week defensively. I'm thinking they're going to get a defensive score. There's a good chance for that. I'd like to say Seattle shuts them out, but we always struggle there. But, yeah, the Seahawks are the definite safest pick, I think, defensively, and there's still obviously upside there as Keenum could throw us a couple gift pick sixes. We'll see how that plays out. I love both defenses.
It's time for last-minute advice for the fantasy world.
I would just say I'm intrigued by both the Oakland offense, Detroit offense this week, but more than anything, I would say for people not to overreact based on anything from week one, whether you're on the plus or the minus of that. Don't think a guy like Adrian Peterson it's time to, sell or something of that ridiculous nature. And by the same token, as we're talking about, like a guy like Mohamed Sanu, he'll be good. He's not going to be that great. So don't overreact on either side.
How about you, Tehol? Any last-minute wisdom?
Any last-minute wisdom from me? You might want to get out a notepad, get out your feather, pen, plume, whatever you call it. I think it's a big player name week. I like Alshon Jeffrey this week against the banged-up Eagles secondary. I love David Johnson this week to go absolutely ham and eggs on defenses. I like even Eli Manning was a headline on my post today on Rasball.com. He's going to go off against the Saints. Beckham. For me, it's all the big names. DFS is worth to pay for some of these big-name guys this week as they're going to go absolutely off. So for me, I'm paying a lot of attention to the high-profile players this week where I'm usually trying to find some real sleepers, whatever. This week, I'm just going with the big dogs.
Oh, man, this is always great stuff. Andy and Tehol, NickelPress TV, their show Off the Record. You got to subscribe on YouTube. Daily wisdom coming from the brains there. Guys, always a pleasure to have you in Wenz World. Can't wait to have you back next week.
I appreciate it. And you know what? I can't let us leave on a sour note with Tehol. I bashed him on Tyrod, but we do have to give him credit. He did tell everybody, make sure to invest in Will Fuller, who absolutely went off in his debut performance. So maybe we can see what he does in week 2, and we can touch on that next week.
Forgiveness. I'm just asking for forgiveness on Tyrod. Please don't hold it against me. I love the man like my second father, like the adopted brother I always wanted. But fantasy-wise, we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. My apologies.
Awesome. Can't wait to talk to you next week. Thanks again.
All right. Good. Thanks, bro.
Hey, fam, stick with, because on the other end of this break, we are back with the voice of Atlanta traffic himself, Mr. Chris Monroe. This man has been fanning the flames of Tinder, but he's also got some weight on his shoulders. He shakes it off right after this break.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
I'm Amber Berry with Crazy Healthy Radio. Come visit me at Westside Yoga on Howell Mill Road in the month of September, and your first week is free for new students. It's National Yoga Month, and we would love to meet you on the mat. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
This is Eddie Mayfield with EMA. That's EMAINC.net. I'm in Wenz World, and we love it.
Hey, everybody, this is Jenny McCormick Earhart, inviting you to join me every Saturday at 1 o'clock on the Southern Sisters Radio Show, the show for Southern women and the men who adore us. We talk about everything from life in the South to food in the South to romance in the South. So hit me up at my website, southernsistershome.com, or follow me on Facebook. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
This is the Wenz, and I rely on
the voice of Atlanta traffic, the only one you need, Chris Monroe. The out-of-control Atlanta Traffic Watch.
It's crazy it's out of control, but the man who will give you the very latest and greatest all things Atlanta traffic, the great Chris Monroe.
He is the eye in the sky looking at you. He can read your mind.
Wow.
Doing a little Alan Parsons project.
Hey, they don't call you the panty dropper for no reason.
Yeah, listen, they really do. Now, I did fly in the sky for a long time, but nobody needs an outdated helicopter anymore. I mean, we can, we got like 10,000 cameras and sensors, and you can cover everything from your desktop now.
That's right. Daddy's watching.
Right. Always. Always. Hey, man, this weekend, downtown Midtown, holy smokes, do you hear what's going on?
What we got going on?
Music Midtown.
Oy.
Midtown Piedmont Park. So that attracts, 50, 100,000 people, something like that, whatever it is.
Tons of folks.
You got the Braves bobblehead thing tomorrow night at Turner
right.
Field. Mm-hmm. You've got 4 lanes on the connector going to be shut down for paving both ways. Then you got Georgia Tech hosting Commodores, the Vandy, at Bobby Dodd Stadium on Saturday. So traffic's going to be an absolute disaster through downtown and Midtown all weekend. I would either take MARTA or Uber.
Or just stay home.
Or just stay home and sit on the couch and do nothing, which is probably what I might do.
Just watch it on TV.
Yeah,
right?
why not? I mean, it's going to be bad. That's going to be bad all weekend long. So
get your bobbleheads off eBay, folks. That's the way to do it.
You want a Voice of Atlanta traffic bobblehead, though. Those are going to be available soon.
Oh, I'm looking for. Maybe I can get a complimentary one.
Well, I'll set you up.
All right, sweet. I'll pay processing and handling. I understand how the Postal Service is not a free thing.
You get 2 for the price of 1. Just pay separate processing and handling.
$20.
What? Yeah, right. Right.
You know, Chris, I noticed something today. You got a little pep in your step.
Always
a little hop to
it. Little hop. Little pep in thy step, yes.
And you know what? You brought in this warm breeze with you. And could we
Summer
be possibly...
breeze makes me feel fine. Oh, hallelujah. Wow.
Ooh,
that's
nice.
good. Ah.
Seals and Croft, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's called yacht rock from the late 70s. That's good stuff.
I love it. I love it. 9 before the hour.
All the big music FM. No, you know, it's called Fanning the Flames of Tinder.
On the wings of love.
Yeah, right? So here's the thing about Tinder. There are so many fake profiles. They're called robots. And I don't know why they're there. I mean, once in a while they'll match with you and then they'll send you a link like, hey, sexy, I'm in town this weekend. Click this link. And they want you to go to some, bad site.
But every other word is misspelled.
Every other word is right.
Because it's a Saudi prince typing this.
And you can they're all smoking hot chicks. I don't know where they get all of, so you just keep swiping left and you find one legitimate. But then I heard about Bumble.
What is that?
It's a new thing. It's kind of like Tinder. It's a right-left swipe thing. But here's the caveat of Bumble. The female has to respond first.
Oh.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like my groceries delivered. I like my house cleaning done for me. I like food delivered from DoorDash. And the girl having to respond to, not half bad there.
Well, the girl cooking, cleaning, bringing you your groceries, and that loving. Summer breeze indeed.
Yes, dear.
Chris, you're a man of passion, and I see you've been fanning the flames of Tinder, but...
And Bumble.
And Bumble.
Yeah, I've been buzzing on Bumble.
But there's also a streak of rage running through the spine of the voice. What's been grinding the voice's gears?
Can't get it into first or second. All right, here's one of my things that grinds my gears. Unnecessary, forced password changes every freaking 3 months.
Salem Media Group.
I'm like, I just changed this password. I only have so many passwords that I can humanly remember. You feel me? Do you feel me out there? Those gears are I feel you. They're grinding because it's ridiculous.
Not to mention, I'm finally growing into the big, sexy 1981 role. I don't get, and all of a sudden I have to change my whole identity because this company can't keep up with passwords. It's ridiculous.
Password. Yeah, well, I think it's Sarbanes-Oxley or something. They came up with that.
You have to add a question mark, an exclamation point, something
Must
for emphasis.
Must include 6 unusual characters and punctuation. I'm like, and then I spend an hour trying to get into my account on Monday morning
because I forgot
my stupid password.
Bring the oomph.
That is grinding my gears.
Always a pleasure to have the voice of Atlanta traffic himself here in Wenz World. Connect with the man on Twitter.
Hey, you can do that by just going to Twitter at Atlanta Traffic.
And of course, you have a very worthy cause to speak of.
I do. Also, the executive director and founder of the Gift of Music Foundation. We have done so much good work, Joe. We have collected over 100 instruments and have sent them back out to kids and programs who need them. Right now, we've got about 80 instruments that are being refurbished that we've got in that are going to go out to various schools and programs. But we have a lot of needs. I mean, obviously, we need money. It takes money to fund the instruments and to get them fixed and to give the scholarships and programs. And these are kids that can't afford lessons or the gift of music. And even you say, well, what about school? Well, here's the problem. They're taking music out of schools. Right? So, we can talk about that more, but if you'll just go to my website, giftofmusic.org, giftofmusic.org, you can find out everything we're doing. We'd love to have you give a donation there as well. Even if it's just of an instrument, your time, or of money, any way that you can help us, we would certainly, if that touches your heart, that'd be awesome.
And folks, don't worry. I know there's somebody out there thinking, wait a minute, are my donations going toward the bubbly for the Bumble and Tinder?
No.
Completely separate.
No, it's a completely separate entity. There's Voice of Atlanta Traffic Enterprises over here, okay? That's a for-profit company. Never the two shall twain. The Gift of Music Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit, and unlike Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, I actually give money to the programs that we say we're going to give money to.
Oh, boy, I see a drone outside the window now. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Yeah, sorry about that. Oops.
My friends, week 1 of the NFL season is behind us. Week 2 is upon us. After this break, at Radio Griff joins us here in Wenz World. We're going to talk about our week 1 predictions, week 2 projections, and we're going to find out who's on top so far. Be right back.
Hey, this is the Deegs, the sales energizer. And like you, I'm in Wenz World. It's a frightening place, but we're here. Here's what I want you to do. Listen to the show, the whole show. And then when you're done, go to my website, remedysalesmatch.com. Fill out the subscription form for the newsletter, and I will send you a free book that's going to change your life. The Hitchhiker's Guide to Guaranteed Success. Do it after the show.
Hey, this is Michael Loftus from theloftusparty.com, and I'm here on Wenz World. You know, the show airs on the weekends, my friends, but every day is Wednesday in Wenz World.
I love it! Week 1 of the NFL season is behind us. Week 2 approaches, and with me is the great at Radio Griff. You know him from Wenz World. Of course, he does the sports reports with Griff and Adkins. Welcome back to the show, Griff. How are you, buddy?
What's up, Wenz? It's good to be here, man.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure to have you back, man. You cleaned up last week, man. 13-3 on your picks. You only lost Dallas, Indianapolis, and Carolina.
Which all of those games could have easily gone the other way. So I think I know what I'm talking about over here, don't I?
Yeah, you do. And you called the heck out of that Los Angeles Rams debacle.
Holy smokes.
Jeez, Chip Kelly looked like a genius.
That was just like wishful thinking. And then the Niners, what's going on? Are the Niners that good, or are the Rams that bad?
I don't know. The truth has got to be somewhere in between in that circumstance there. But yours truly went 10-6, so I have much to learn from the great at Radio Griff. Looking ahead to week 2, let's get some predictions here. We'll start first with tonight's matchup, Thursday Night Football. Jets, Jets at the Buffalo Bills. What say you at Radio Griff?
You know what? I think it's in Buffalo. It's one of those color rush games, crazy uniforms going on. I think the Bills are going to pull this out. I think the Jets, they lost a tough one last week, right? Didn't they lose last week?
Yep. Yeah, it was like a 1 or 2 point game.
You know what's going to help the Bills, though, is that I read this week that Rex Ryan is purposefully getting fat again.
Yeah, what's up with that?
He's going back to the old ways to show camaraderie with his brother, who's also fat.
Yeah.
So they're just going to be fat together or something. So, and I think he's a better coach when he's fat. So Bills are going to win because Rex Ryan's fat.
I like the strategy there. I'm going to disagree. I think the Jets take this one. I don't even know why I think that. I'm just feeling the color green today.
They should.
Yeah. You think that defense, I think they had 7 sacks in week 1, so Tyrod Taylor's going to be on the run there. Niners at Panthers. Woo! Big test for Chip Kelly and co.
The 2 best teams in the NFC, great matchup here. I'm a huge Niners fan, as you know, but, I mean, it's Cam and the Panthers. They lost a tough one in Denver a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see there any way that Blaine Gabbert goes into Carolina and beats Cam on his own field. The Panthers are going to win this game.
I agree. No explanation necessary from the Wenz here. Dallas at our nation's capital. Cowboys at Redskins. What do you think?
Man, the Redskins looked pretty terrible last week. I thought they were going to be a better team. I was expecting a lot from Kirk Cousins, but maybe he's a bust, like a $20 million bust, huh?
Yeah.
I think the Cowboys, I think the Redskins are going to continue to bust. They're going to get scalped by the Cowboys, and old Dak Prescott's going to win again.
I'm going to take the Skins at home on this one. I got a feeling. I think they have something to prove after getting pounded by Pittsburgh. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Speak of the devil.
I like Pittsburgh, man. That offense, I think Pittsburgh takes this game. They're a high-powered offense. Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger. It's awesome to watch.
Antonio Brown is a fantasy wet dream, man. He's like guaranteed at least 20 points, no matter what.
Guaranteed, yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think Pittsburgh wins this one at home. Nolans at New York Giants.
Oh, yeah, with this game, this is like one of those, as we talked about last week, if I see it come on TV, I'm just like, eh. Saints looked pretty good last week. I mean, Drew Brees, he throws it to about 10 different nondescript guys.
Yeah.
You don't even know who these guys are.
Yep.
But they score a lot of points. Giants had a good game. It's in New York. I'll go with the Giants. But it seems like a pick'em to me.
It is a pick'em game to me also at Radio Griff. I'm going to go with the traveling Saints. Drew Brees is better than he was last year. Giants D look good against Dallas, but, that's Dallas. Miami, at New England.
Oh, the Dolphins stand no chance. New England, they're ticked off, and they're going to go undefeated this year. After what I saw in week 1 with Jimmy G, they are going to go undefeated. They're not going to lose a game.
Wow. You heard it here first in Wenz World, folks. At Radio Griff has called an undefeated season.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, well, you know what? Garoppolo did look really good against that Arizona defense. A lot of pinpoint accuracy.
And dang, is he not good looking or what?
He is a handsome devil. It's something about Patriot quarterbacks. It's the water.
I want to be a Patriots quarterback.
Yeah.
Will it make me better looking?
I think so. Absolutely. I agree. I mean, the Dolphins put up a hell of a fight against Seattle last week. It was a really close game. Came down to the last couple minutes there. But heck, man, like you said, New England, man, they're just so damn untouchable this year. I'm going with the Pats at home. Kansas City at Houston, taking on the Texans. What do you think?
I think Chiefs had a great comeback last week. They looked down and out, and they came back, and did they win that game last week, I believe?
Yeah.
They came back and won, right? Texans, Brock in Houston. I'll go with the Chiefs.
I'm going to go with the Texans. I think their defense is going to hold strong in this one. Tennessee Titans at Detroit Lions.
Wow.
Stinker.
It is a stinker, but in some ways it's interesting. Well, the Lions put up a lot of points. It was a shootout in Indy last week. So can they continue that?
Right.
I picked up like 3 Lions for my fantasy team, so I sure hope so.
I got Ebron off the wire.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I got Theo Riddick, who seems to have one good game a year. And that seemed to be, hopefully that's not true this year. So I'm interested on that selfishly. And then the Titans, it was kind of weird not to see the running backs really do a lot.
Yeah, Murray and Henry.
Henry, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. But I'll go with the Lions. I think they're going to put up too many points for the Titans. I don't think the Titans can score enough points to keep up with the Lions.
Yeah, I hear that, man, for sure. DeMarco Murray had a couple touchdowns, but I think they were both receiving touchdowns. They're not getting much of that ground game like they were promised there. I take Detroit at home also. As you mentioned, they look so good points-wise last week. Baltimore at Cleveland. Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. I mean, who's on Baltimore now besides Joe Flacco? It's Joe Flacco and Mike Williams, right? Like, that's the whole team.
That Wallace guy, Mike Wallace?
Right.
Yeah.
That's Flacco and Wallace.
That's it.
That's the team. And then the Browns, once again, don't have a quarterback.
Wow. Did you see that play last week? RG3 literally ran into Jalen Watkins and separated his own shoulder on the sideline.
Right.
What a dope.
I feel so bad for these Cleveland fans. The Ravens will win this game. I mean, who's playing quarterback for Cleveland? No one knows. Like, Johnny Manziel?
I think it's Josh McCown or
one
Cade
of the McCowns or something. Yeah.
They're like the Detmer family. I can't tell them apart.
Right.
You know?
There's like 10 of them, it seems. They're always in the league. There's always one of them sticking around. So
absolutely. I'd take Edgar Allan Poe on the road there. Seahawks at St. Louis taking on the Rams.
I'm tempted to say upset pick of the week.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because after getting their butts kicked
28-0.
Yeah, by the Niners, my own Niners, which I was even shocked by that game. I watched the Rams on Hard Knocks, and I thought they were going to be a better team this year.
Jeff Fisher, how on earth does he still have a job? He's a traveling snake oil salesman. This guy, how a general manager or a team owner can buy into this rhetoric? He must smell like a dozen roses on Valentine's Day. I have no idea how this guy stays employed.
There is something up with that because he's really never done anything.
No, yes.
With
he's
the Titans,
bad.
Oilers, it was Steve McNair.
Yeah.
R.I.P. That carried him through those years.
Mm-hmm. And Eddie George.
Yep. Besides that, what has this guy ever done? And I watched him on Hard Knocks, and I've watched a few seasons of Hard Knocks. And like last year, Bill O'Brien coached for the Texans. You know, the Texans were the team last year.
Yeah.
I was impressed by him as a coach. He seemed like a great... I want to play for him. He gets me fired up.
Yeah, man.
This year, I watched Jeff Fisher, and it's like, I feel like I've had better coaches in Little League Baseball. This guy is just kind of uninspiring. He's just a dude. with a mustache.
It might be the mustache.
There's something,
could be the
magical
hair.
mustache.
Yeah, it's like,
so I want to pick the Rams in an upset, but I can't. Seahawks are going to go to L.A. and destroy them.
I'm with you, man. I don't see that happening. Maybe in a Disney movie, but not in real life. Tampa Bay on the road taking on Arizona.
Now, here is my upset pick of the week.
Okay, here we go.
Because I'm assuming Arizona's favored, right? I would assume at home.
I'd probably say
even
that.
Though they
sure.
lost. Yeah. I would, I think Jameis, he looked so good last week against the Falcons. R.I.P. Falcons, by the way, too. Holy smokes.
Their season ended in the first quarter.
It's so sad. But it's kind of not. The Bucks, I'm taking the Bucks against the Cardinals.
I'm going to take the home team. I think the Cardinals have an axe to grind after getting beat by the Patriots last Sunday night. But I understand your pick there. All right, Jacksonville on the road at San Diego. Chargers lost Keenan Allen for the year, so
here's one of our meh games of the week right here.
Is there bowling on the other channel?
I hope so. Some soccer. You mentioned the Chargers. They lost a receiver. It's in San Diego. The fans in San Diego are kind of apathetic, I feel like, especially after the performance they had in week 1. Jacksonville has a pretty good offense, a couple good receivers, great quarterback. I'll go with the Jags on the road.
I'm going to agree with that. They put up a hell of a fight against Green Bay, and Green Bay is no slouch. So I'm going to take the Jags on the road as well. Just as you mentioned, the Atlanta Falcons headed out to Oaktown.
Yeah. Oakland's going to win. I mean, the Falcons just aren't a good team. This organization is a mess. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
No, Raiders look good. They're a nice young team. Kind of undisciplined, a little immature.
Yeah.
Their coach has the biggest set of you-know-what.
Oh, big kahunas. Last week, going for the win.
I like that.
I love that. And they were on the road, too. They were in New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
Wow.
Well, he knew New Orleans just can come back and score.
Yeah.
So I got to do this now or we lose.
Absolutely.
You have nothing to lose. Week 1 on the road. Why not? I like it. I like the Raiders. They're going to beat the Falcons.
Great insight. I totally agree. I think Oakland is the team to pick there. Indianapolis at Denver.
Now, this could be an intriguing matchup. Can the Colts offense continue what they did last week against Detroit? Can they do that against this great Broncos D? I don't know, man. I think the Broncos will win this game. It's in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
If it was in Indy, I might lean a little towards the Colts, but I just don't think the Colts have a defense. So, and I think even Trevor Seaman or whatever his name is we determined last week, he's good enough. He's probably better than Peyton was last year.
No kidding. Absolutely.
So, I take the Broncos.
I'm with you on that. I'm actually sitting both of my starting receivers in my fantasy league. I have Moncrief and Hilton, and I'm not starting them against the Denver defense at home. That's just suicide.
Smart move by you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Broncos take that at home. Green Bay at Minnesota, division game. Sam Bradford apparently going to get the start here. What do you think?
Here's what I think. I know, I have Adrian Peterson on my fantasy team.
You start him last week?
Of course. He's AP.
Awful.
He's my round 1 pick. I had to start him.
Oh, God.
And he did nothing.
Yeah, he was awful.
So I'm kind of hoping he has some success this week against the Packers, but I'm not very hopeful. I thought the Vikings would be a little better.
Yeah.
I don't know. If Bridgewater was playing and everything was going how we thought it was going to go with the Vikings, and they're playing in this beautiful new stadium in Minnesota, I might pick them, but no, you can't pick against the Packers right now, especially going against Sam Bradford, Aaron Rodgers. You just got to look at the quarterbacks. Who's the better quarterback?
Right.
Aaron Rodgers by far. Packers will win.
Yeah, Rodgers over Sammy Sleeves there. I don't see the Vikings putting up much of a fight, especially since I feel like maybe Green Bay kind of feels like, man, we almost didn't win in Jacksonville last week. We got to pound the crap out of Minnesota.
I could see them wanting to make a statement this week.
Totally. And then, of course, Monday Night Football, my Birds taking on the Chicago Bears in Chi-Town.
This will be kind of an interesting game. Pretty good Monday night game.
Right.
I like Carson Wentz on the road against the Bears winning this game. I think they're going to be 2-0.
I hope
Jay
you're right.
Cutler is trash.
He is he's another guy. How does this guy maintain employment in the National Football? I could see it in the Canadian Football League.
Right. He's like a poor man's Matt Ryan. Which is how many levels down is that?
He is the poor man. I love that. Poor man's Matt Ryan. That is so true, man.
Eagles got this.
I hope you're right. I think it's going to be a lot closer than I would even like to think. I think the Bears defense has gotten somewhat better than last year. I mean, everybody was getting a ride last year, but I think Carson Wentz showed me something, and I know everybody was talking about, oh, they played the Browns, but he went at Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden is one of the league's best corners, and he took it to him. He has no fear in his eyes. I take the Eagles there. So last week at Radio Griff 13-3, Wenz World Radio 10-6. Let's see if I can even the score this week.
Not
week
happening.
2. Week 2 of the NFL. And of course, we're going to check back next week and weigh next week's matchups and talk about the wins and losses and hopefully no ties. Oh, God. It'd be awful. Thank you. At Radio Griff on Twitter. Follow this man. He has a lot to say. And of course, at Wenz World Radio. Till next time. So just how different are the male and female brain? After this break, we find out as author Kate Sukol wraps up her book tour right here in Wenz World. What an honor. We're going to talk about her book, This Is Your Brain on Sex, the science behind the search for love. Stick with us.
Hey, this is the Deegs, the sales energizer. And like you, I'm in Wenz World. It's a frightening place, but we're here. This is what I want you to do. Listen to the show, the whole show, and then when you're done, go to my website, remedysalesmatch.com. Fill out the subscription form for the newsletter, and I will send you a free book that's going to change your life, The Hitchhiker's Guide to Guaranteed Success. Do it after the show.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
This is Dennis Prager, and I am in Wenz World, and I love it.
Okay, every guy out there is trying to figure out what makes them so different than their lady. His brain, her brain. We brought the expert in, author Kate Sukol. If you've been with us, you know she wrote the book, This Is Your Brain on Sex, the science behind the search for love. Welcome back, author Kate.
Thank you for having me. Although I feel like I should say, for every man that is wondering what makes his lady so crazy, there's a woman standing behind him saying, what is wrong with him? What is going on there? People recognize some craziness on both sides there. We don't want to get too misogynistic about this.
So what can we learn about the differences? Because there are obvious and then also subtle differences between the male and female brain.
There are, and it's pretty interesting because what you'll see are some volume differences. There are certain brain areas that are bigger in male brains than there are in female brains. So areas that are, with spatial navigation. Women, on the other hand, tend to have bigger areas for comprehension, for social skills, for verbal skills, which, of course, you could take the easy way out and say, that's why my lady talks so much. But you know what? It's not quite that simple, because while we do see these volume differences, The new sort of prevailing theory is that the differences we see between male and female brains is more due to compensation than differences. That means that our brains have to develop a lot for us to become, reproductive adults so that we can propagate the species. And so these brain differences we may see are there to not only help us be more reproductively viable, but also to make up for any changes that, may work against us in terms of smarts and cognition. So we're probably a lot more similar than different. And certainly, of course, that goes against the grain, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. But I'll tell you, that was one of the things that actually, got me interested in this book. I was getting divorced, and of course, I thought my ex-husband was insane, as, everyone does when they're getting divorced. And somebody asked me to read the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. They said that it would change my life. I totally understand what was going on. And I read the book, and I thought, what utter schlock. And there was even a part in this book where the author said, and his name is John Gray, well, if you're a woman and don't agree with what I say in this book, this probably means that you have too much testosterone in the brain.
Wow.
And I sat there and I thought, okay, too much testosterone. What does that even mean? Because no testes were descending. I had a normal amount of chest hair still. But I think what we see is that everybody's different. And although we like to make these really funny generalizations, and they do make for great punchlines and for oversimplified, explanations of why our relationships go wrong. Of course. What you're going to find is that men and women are more alike than different, and that you're going to see more differences within the sexes than between them. And what I mean by that is if you got 100 men together and you compared all of their brains and their volume differences, you would probably see more differences there than you'd see between 50 men and 50 women. And the same thing with 100 women. You'd see more differences between those 100 women. So we can't take these differences too far. And as much as we'd like to blame, our relationship woes on the male brain or the female brain, unfortunately it comes down to us all being individuals.
Exponential differences just because of how we differentiate as individuals in the human species.
Well, and what we find time and time again, biology does not work in a vacuum. So yes, we have these big, beautiful brains, but they are shaped and modeled and remodeled based on all of our experiences. So it may not be that, your lady is crazy because she has that giant, verbal area in her brain. It may be that, her past 3 boyfriends and their craziness just made some, inoperable changes.
Wow, this is such great stuff. So what we want to do from here on out is open up the floor for discussions and questions. So if you want to, you can email the show, wenzworldradio@gmail.com. Again, WENZ worldradio@gmail.com for a segment we're going to call Ask Kate. And you know what? You can get as graphic and detailed or as vague as you want. It is all good in the hood because we have author Kate Sukel. You got to check out her website. Whole bunch of cool resources. You can buy her books there. She also does a lot of writing on the side, appearances, KAYTSUKEL.com. And of course, connect on Twitter at Kate Sukel. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited about the avenue that this is going to open up for both guys and girls. Forgive me for not inviting the ladies to the discussion because you are more than welcome. As a matter of fact, you are encouraged to participate.
Yes. Although I hope that a Pedro responds. First person, sign it Pedro.
Pedro. Okay. Well, yeah, you heard that first, folks. And you don't have to write it in Spanish. That's all good. You can write it in English, too.
But no, I think, there are a lot of questions that we have. And I think, one of the things I learned in my book is not every single one of us, we're fallible and we're a little weird and we're quite curious. Amen. But we're also infinitely lovable. And that's the most wonderful part of it all.
I love how you always ended on a high note. Here with author Kate Sukel. She wrote the book, This Is Your Brain on Sex. Check it out. It is the science behind the search for love. Author Kate Sukel, can't wait to have you back next week for our Q&A with Wenz World Population. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Break. You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
From my heart and from my hands, why don't people understand my intentions?
I'm in Wenz world, and I love it.
Weird science time. I am back in Wenz world with Dr. Jeff Zweerink of Reasons to Believe. How are you, Jeff?
Doing well. How about yourself, Joey?
Fantastic. So we've often heard the question, can you hear me now? And that usually relates to a phone commercial. But in this case, I want to talk about signals detected in space. Help me fill in the gaps from this Russian telescope.
Well, there are just numbers of telescopes around the world that are looking out into the heavens, looking for radio signals, because if there are extraterrestrial life out there, that's the most likely frequency they're going to use. And so there was one telescope in Russia, the Rotan 600 telescope, that found a signal above noise that looked like it might be the sign from an ET. So somebody that lives not on Earth.
Are we talking aliens here? Is that specifically what that phrase ET means, or could it be something else?
No, in this instance, what we're looking for is beings that live somewhere other than Earth who have enough intelligence to send radio signals that we might be able to detect them. So, yes, we're talking about aliens in this instance. So
what are scientists claiming about this interaction?
Well, really what most of them are claiming is that they found this signal that was clearly above background, and it has the characteristics that it's not just a natural something from a star, something from a galaxy, something like that it seems like it's made by some sort of intelligence. And they don't know exactly what it is. They weren't really claiming they were aliens, but it's this signal that they didn't have a good explanation for at the time.
So what else could it have been beside what they're claiming?
Eventually, as people were looking around, there was a Allen telescope that's operated by the SETI Institute here in the U.S. that they looked at this particular object to see if they could reproduce the signal, and it turned out that they could not find any of that. Or they with a more sensitive instrument, they didn't find any signal. And apparently the Russian astronauts who were working on this were able to go back and look through some archives and figure out that there was an old Soviet-era military satellite up that just happened to be in the right field of view at that time. They corresponded with when the telescope was looking at this star that had a planet around it. So at the end of the day, it ended up being probably a military Russian satellite.
So something interesting to note here is that in the area of the sound's origin, there's a star much like our own. It's kind of echoing what the sun looks like, right, Jeff?
Yeah, it is. It's a star that is a lot like our sun. It's about 6 billion years old, where our sun's 4.5 billion years old.
Wow.
It's basically got the same mass, has the same metallicity, and it's got at least one planet around it, although the planet we detected is a Neptune-sized planet that orbits inside where Mercury does in our solar system. So the star looks kind of like the sun, and it's got a planet, although unlike one in our solar system, but there could be other planets. And so that kind of added to the intrigue. You know, maybe there's a planet there we haven't detected where there might be an alien civilization. That's kind of the thought that some people were running with.
What's your gut telling you about all this? What is Dr. Jeff Zweerink, astrophysicist from Reasons to Believe, reasons.org? What are you thinking?
My gut is that I don't think we're ever going to find an extraterrestrial intelligent signal like that.
Right.
When you look at all of the conditions that were required for life to exist here on Earth, I think it points to the work of a creator who fashioned a planet who put us here. And so in that sense, I don't expect that as we look out into the universe, even though it's vast and there's lots of planets and lots of space out there and lots of time, I just don't think all of those conditions are going to be met anywhere.
Again, we are with astrophysicist Dr. Jeff Zweerink of Reasons to Believe. You can connect on Twitter at RTB_official. Jeff is an astrophysicist and author of the book Who's Afraid of the Multiverse and co-authored the Impact Event Series. Dr. Jeff Swearing, always a pleasure to have you in Wenz World. Can't wait to have you back. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks again, Joey. Enjoy the time to be here.
It's who you are.
I'm Amber Berry with Crazy Healthy Radio. Come visit me at Westside Yoga on Howell Mill Road in the month of September, and your first week is free for new students. It's National Yoga Month, and we would love to meet you on the mat. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
Oh, yeah, it's always good to have Wenz World's personal sensei, the great Amber Berry of Westside Yoga right here in Atlanta. Welcome back to the show, Amber. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's great to see you, Joey.
Always a pleasure to have you here. So earlier you were talking to Christy Paul, and we're going to be able to hear that interview. And you know that name, Christy Paul, CNN New Day Weekend anchor here in Atlanta, Georgia. And let me tell you, she had a lot to say. But one of the overarching themes that I'd love to talk about with you today is the idea of tapas as it pertains to yoga and how we can use it in our everyday life.
Right. Tapas is one of the 10 core values. Yoga actually comes with this really rich philosophy that has been implemented for thousands of years. And the practice actually starts before we even get to the postures. We have these core values that we try to apply to everything we do on our mats. And they're things like nonviolence, truthfulness, cleanliness. And one of them is this idea of tapas, which really isn't something I can relate to any kind of concept in America, but it's something that's been really powerful to me. It's the idea that we all have things in our life that are uncomfortable, but we should actually seek those things rather than avoid them. And I feel like I spent a lot of my life trying to avoid discomfort, taking the easy road as much as possible. And we live in a world in the United States that is very comfortable. We have a lot of creature comforts that other countries don't have. And so we've become very adverse to the things that are uncomfortable. But tapas is the idea that if you lean into those things, they'll refine you. And you start to actually cherish the things that are difficult. And it's really interesting how it changes your mind. For example, in my yoga practice, and the yoga practice is a metaphor for life. So if you can get on your mat and you can get into, let's say, chair pose and hold it, your brain is going to start thinking, is this over yet? I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. I've had enough. And if you can learn to recognize that story and turn it around and think, I am powerful, I can hold this as long as I keep breathing through it and trusting ourselves to do more than we think we can, then on the other side of that, you've built more muscle and you're a stronger person and you're proud of yourself because you overcame this really hard thing. And that's just one small example. If you do that on your mat for an hour every day for a year, imagine what that does, not only to your body, you get crazy strong, but you also become really powerful in your mind and less resistant to the things that are uncomfortable.
And even if you aren't a yoga person, this is something that we can apply to our mental muscle, right? Because we're flexing and we're building that through embracing those difficult situations that make us think more. Maybe they make us believe more, and they ultimately just mold us into the person that we were designed to be.
And that's the truest happiness in life, is when you're fulfilling your purpose. And we're all unique, and we all have a unique purpose. And it makes me really sad sometimes because I think my kids are growing up in a world where they're told to conform. And the only path to happiness is being authentic. And so I think we're all very torn between trying to fit in and trying to replicate other people's success when we have our own unique kind of success waiting for us. And that's the thing that's going to make us happy in life.
Again, if you're just joining us, we are with Amber Berry, crazyhealthyamber.com. And of course, keep the conversation rolling on Twitter at crazyhealthy. Now, as I mentioned before, you had CNN New Day Weekend anchor Christy Paul on the show. So we can hear that this weekend, Sunday at 12:30 on Biz 1190. And of course, always on SoundCloud too.
Right. Crazy Healthy Radio. And it was a really interesting conversation about rising above the culture of fear. And the thing that has happened over the past decade as we've become more reliant on social media for communication is that we have also created a new form of escapism that allows us to turn away from doing really hard things. And we've become more fearful of the world around us, because we're constantly bombarded with all this negativity. And, fear can take the form of anxiety. It can take the form of perfectionism. It can take the form of anger. But what we have is a society that has a lot of this fear energy, and I can feel it even in my yoga classes. And so we're trying to talk about things that help us overcome that, how we can hit the reset button and reclaim our hope and let our faith be bigger than our fears.
Wow. Thank you, Sensei.
It's my pleasure, always. Thank you, Joey.
My friends, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this online edition of Wenz World Radio. We'll be back with a brand new episode next week. Until then, take care. God bless.
Excellent!
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.